Hi, my name is Adam Whitmer. I'm the founder and host here at ComplianceCohort.com. This compliance clip is going to talk about protected classes under both the Equal Credit Opportunity Act and the Fair Housing Act. Now, these are two fair lending laws that were passed quite some time ago, but they actually overlap when it comes to protected classes. Now, the Fair Housing Act was passed in 1968. It has one set of protected class applicants, while the Equal Credit Opportunity Act was passed in 1974, and that has a slightly different set of protected class applicants. Now, when I say protected class, it's important to understand when we talk about discrimination in lending, we are not allowed to discriminate against a protected class. So we have to understand what a protected class is under both the Equal Credit Opportunity Act and the Fair Housing Act in order to ensure we don't discriminate. And again, both of these rules are slightly different, so there is some overlap. And let's take a look at both of these. First, the Fair Housing Act. The Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination against the protected class, which is defined as somebody based on their race or color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, which is defined as children under 18 living at home, or handicap. That is how a protected class applicant is defined under the Fair Housing Act. Now, of course, the Fair Housing Act covers fair housing and deals with loans for dwellings. That's what we're talking about is fair housing. But the Equal Credit Opportunity Act is slightly different. And what you see here is the protected class applicants for fair housing, but you'll see the non-bolded pieces. These are the pieces that actually overlap with the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. So our bolded pieces are unique to the Fair Housing Act. And these, of course, include familial status and handicap. So when it comes to familial status, we cannot discriminate somebody based on how many children under 18 are living at home. So if you have a show called 19 Kids Accounting, which would be the Duggard family, you cannot discriminate against them just because of how many kids they have under 18 living at home. Now, you and I both know that kids are freaking expensive. They're really, really expensive, but we cannot discriminate based on the fact that they have kids living at home. So that is one piece, and the other piece, of course, is handicap under the Fair Housing Act. Now, the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, again, was passed in 1974, and this has a prohibition on discrimination against protected classes, which are defined as individuals based on race or color, religion, national origin, and gender, just like we saw in the Fair Housing Act. But the Equal Credit Opportunity Act has a few other protected classes under its definition. And these include marital status, age, receipt of public assistance, and a good faith exercise of rights under the Consumer Credit Protection Act. So the first four, again, are an overlap with the Fair Housing Act, but the Equal Credit Opportunity Act goes above and beyond and looks at marital status. So we cannot discriminate based on marital status under ECOA and Regulation B. We also cannot discriminate based on age under ECOA. And this is the age, of course, under Regulation B is age 62 and above would be elderly. That would be a problem. You cannot discriminate against younger people as well. It goes both ways. Receipt of public income, that has to do with public assistance. So if you have public income or public assistance, you cannot discriminate on somebody against that. That would be things like welfare, child support, Social Security income. Just because they receive that type of income, you cannot deny them a loan just because it's that type of income. Now, if the income is going to cease, that is a different story, but you cannot discriminate based on the type of income being public assistance. And then, of course, you cannot retaliate against somebody because they exercise their good faith right under the Consumer Credit Protection Act by denying them. You can't deny somebody just because they complain against you under their rights under this law. So that, of course, is the difference between protected classes under the Fair Housing Act and protected classes under the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. Now, you will see there are some things that are not mentioned there that are interesting because the CFPB has been taking a very strong stance on some things like students and student loans and military service members. So there are several areas that are not currently included in the protected class definition under either ECOA or the Fair Housing Act, but those are also areas you need to be careful not to discriminate against because there could be a larger problem even though they're not covered under fair lending laws at this time. Now, this is a topic that we are covering in our Fair Lending Bootcamp. I actually recorded this piece last Monday, a while back, just recently. So I actually said it much better than I did here as I'm trying to squeeze this compliance clip video in for you to have one for this Friday. But we do have a Fair Lending Bootcamp coming out. If you want to talk everything Fair Lending Bootcamp has a ton of information. You can view more information on that in our store, compliancecohort.com/store. That's all I have for you today in this compliance clip. If you are new to the compliance cohort, check out our website. Of course, we have products available in our store, but we also have a ton of free products, free pieces of information, just like this video, through a free membership. We've got a free basic membership where we provide training videos just like this for free. We have free articles and other resources. And if you are an existing member, thank you so much for watching this video. It wasn't my best, but hey, it is what it is. So it's the middle of winter. I've got 14 feet of snow, and I just decided to crank out a video, even though my mind is not in it. I need to go shovel. So thanks for sticking to the end, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much.